All right, gentlemen, I want to welcome everybody here to the newest installment of the Burning Success, a wrestling podcast. Uh, we're going to be taking a little short break from our normal review and looking back at old shows, and I kind of just wanted to interview you gentlemen and get get a little perspective on fandom, kind of what I wanted to do when we first started this pod, and Kevin and I talked about. So if I can keep rolling on here. Uh, I'd like to give a couple introductions. I, myself, am the Burning Dragon, Steve Hamblin, and with me tonight, with all due respect, I am once again flanked by one half of the Southern Bloods, a man known to throw a Stan Hansen-like lariat, known for being stiff and inaccurate, mostly stiff and inaccurate. He is Mr. Saturday Night, Eddie Calloway. How are you, sir?
Doing well, and that is that is the best intro I've ever heard for my character, because that was pretty accurate.
Dude, my jaw still hurts. And a man who needs no introduction but has requested one, the People's Obesity. You did. You got a standing ovation. Me and Josh were such good heels that the first people started chanting for you. You had to go back out, and then they all stood and clapped as you walked out to the ring waving.
I do briefly. I briefly remember it, but I guess I didn't take it in, and I'm very appreciative. I try. So.
They hated me and Steve.
Yeah. Well, then that's good.
Hitting on them, dude.
Right.
Josh was fucking
a true heel.
Missile, dude.
Yeah.
I had a spitting problem when I was younger. All right.
No, that's good characteristic of a heel.
That's why I was your tag team partner all the time. I'm like, no way he's gonna spit on his partner.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm always thinking. No. We'll jump into it. I just kind of want to get on here and get a couple of opinions from you guys, kind of let everyone know where everyone sits. We have 3 different tiers of fandom. I'd say me and Josh are more closely related in our tiers. Kevin is what I call, Josh, a boxed fan. It's kind of funny because anyway. So yeah, because he just loves WWE. He watches. I shouldn't say he loves it, but that is his fandom. Yeah. He hasn't ventured out much other than the couple of little podcasts we've done on WCW. So I kind of wanted to start out with Josh. What are some of your fondest or most memorable moments in wrestling that you can think of at this moment? Something that you watch and you were like, damn, this is why I watch wrestling, or this, I'm going to watch this from now on. Anything come to mind?
So memory wise, I can give you 3 that stand out in my mind of like, this is why I'm a wrestling fan. Number 1 was WrestleMania 20. Not to bring up like a bad time of memories there, but WrestleMania 20
it's going to get brought up later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say I was going to bring that up later anyway because I got a little segment I wanted to talk about, but go ahead.
All right, so yeah, WrestleMania 20. My 2 favorite wrestlers at the time, Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, finally getting their flowers at the end of the granddaddy of them all in Madison Square Garden. I actually was watching that pay-per-view today, ironically enough, just kind of having it on in the background. Number 2 would be probably Man Up, ROH, getting to see that pay-per-view, and then also just the friendship that we all had there in the moments like that. That is one show that stands out, especially with "Get him down from there." Sorry. And then number 3 would be CM Punk's return. It didn't turn out as well as obviously a lot of us Punk fans wanted, but just Punk was Punk. Punk is probably one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and that moment we all wanted and we got, and then unfortunately it didn't fall out. And then the creation of AEW completely brought back my love of wrestling. I've spent way too much money on AEW probably over these last 5 years, but I'll continue to do it.
There you go. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Kevin, same question. Is there any wrestling memories or matches or anything that's kind of jump started, restarted, initiated your original fandom? Anything you got?
I know one particular instance that definitely restarted my fandom was the return of Edge at the Royal Rumble. And I cannot, was it, can anybody remember what year that was? Like 2019?
Yeah, it would have had to been
Yeah,
19.
because it was before COVID, maybe even, yeah. Yeah, we'll have to look into that. But yeah, that, I mean, Edge is a phenomenal wrestler. I think we can
2020.
2020. Okay, so it was the
2020?
same. Okay, so when COVID started coming up, yeah, because of course we still had the crowd. It was so awesome. We know that he left WWE under the terms that he wouldn't have wished to, based on his serious injury. From what I remember, and I don't know if anybody else remembers, there was no like hint of him returning. I don't really. I obviously kind of at this time stopped watching wrestling. Hence me saying that, prefacing that this is when I started watching it again. But even still, then I didn't really look into any rumors, or I didn't follow anybody on any social media that would kind of indicate of any sort of potential returns in WWE. But I really don't remember any thought of anybody saying, "Oh, there might be a chance that he comes back." And so for him to return out of nowhere and just the huge response in the crowd from the video that I watched on YouTube, and then you can see Edge's reaction on the ramp. I think he was so excited. Well, he was so emotional that people still loved him. So I knew that there was going to be big things with him coming, and that kind of, like I said, reinitiated my fandom for it. And there definitely were big things for him that came up until his recent departure, and then going to a different company. So that was a big moment. Outside of that, I mean, there's a lot of other ones, but before that time, I pretty much stayed on watching WWE from the moment, which we've talked about in previous podcasts, of when I originally started watching. Um, so I don't know. There could be so many really big moments, but that one, for whatever reason, it just sticks out the most. It was just so exciting to see. Um, Probably another one would have been Brock Lesnar's original return, where I think at the time he was at was he at UFC right before then, and then he left. I think
Yep.
that was a big one. I know I think we briefly talked about how it was something that I've always wanted to see him come back ever since he had left. I think WWE missed out on really keeping somebody that was a huge player and huge member of the roster. So when he came back in F5, John Cena, that was really freaking awesome. Again, there were rumors of him returning, but I don't know that anything was really that confirmed. So it was exciting to see. And this was after WrestleMania, I think. I know it was after pay-per-view the night after, yeah. So that was another pretty awesome. Okay, I'll start watching wrestling again, because I think at that time is when it started becoming consistent for me. So as you can see, returns are big for me, just like it was for you, Josh, for CM Punk. But I think those returns were actually really really awesome with the runs that they had thereafter. So one more, sorry, was The Rock when he returned to be the host for WrestleMania. That was so awesome, and I think we knew it was happening because that was in Florida. It was in his home city. I don't know that there were any hints of it officially, but I think everybody saw it coming, and it was still a huge pop of the crowd, and just like, oh, I can't believe it's really happening. He was out for 7 years before then, so jump starting his career in acting. So that, I think, was another big one. But at that time, honestly, I was watching a lot of wrestling to begin with. So yeah, I think I'll pick those three.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah.
Like I said, a couple of mine are a little bit older. Like I remember buying the first VHS that I bought for wrestling was WWE Over the Edge 1998, and it's Stone Cold versus Dude Love. That's cool. Oh god, SummerSlam '98, Undertaker versus Stone Cold. I mean, the match going back isn't as good. But I was watching it with my dad, and like my dad was like, I heard on a radio show that Stone Cold Steve Austin's going to give the Undertaker a stunner, and he's going to kick out, and he'll just sit up. And I'm like, oh my god, that's going to be huge. Still am a huge Undertaker mark. Looking back now, being as jaded and I am, I know that they would have never let Undertaker no sell Stone Cold stunners, but at the time I was like, oh, and then obviously watching it, that doesn't happen, but it was still great. So those are some of my fondest memories. like Josh had mentioned, the ROH stint that we went on where we traveled, you know, Chicago, Detroit, Dayton, the Loop, Cleveland,
Wow.
watching some badass wrestling, Man Up. I mean, you thought Mark Briscoe was going to die, dude. I understand your panic.
Well, it was Jay Briscoe first off, wasn't it?
No, Mark was hung upside down.
Was it Mark?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mark was hung upside down, and then Jimmy Jacobs drank his blood and spit it everywhere. Damn it! What an awesome! Oh, that gets me hyped. So that's a big one. There's a lot of memories. Speaking of, and now that we've kind of strolled down memory lane and got ourselves into the mood, what are some turnoffs in wrestling? What are some things that you're like, here we go, that kind of either take away from the show, take away from your attention to it? Anything? Kevin, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think I know one example of that really is bugging me a lot is outside interference to end a match. And we typically see that from heels. And I think it works for some people, like, one of Josh's favorite wrestlers was Eddie Guerrero. But even then, it wasn't so much outside interference. He just found different ways to cheat and win. And same sort of deal with Ric Flair. Maybe we'll see more low blows from him than anybody to win, or at least help win. But when it comes down to any kind of match, any kind of wrestler, it just feels like, I would say, probably not accurate, but in my perspective, it feels like 75% of matches where heels win is due to outside interference. I think they should really limit that and maybe make it a strong suit for certain performers, but it just seems like if there's a faction that they're a part of, and that's maybe a whole point of a faction, but even still, like, let's get a little more creative. And they're trying. I know they're trying to find different ways to do it, but when it comes down to it, it ruins if it's a great match, it can ruin such a great match with having a weak finish, refs distracted, or someone hands off a weapon, or it's just like, oh, come on, like, we see it all the time. So that starts to get turned off for me as I've kind of progressed watching wrestling. Maybe not so much when I was in my younger days, but yeah, you kind of get sick of that. I think I'll stick with that. I think that's probably my biggest turn off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's just one of those wrestling tropes, like, the bad guy needs help to win.
Yeah.
He's not as tough as the good guy. The good guy needs another reason to challenge. So I get it. Mr. Northcutt, any wrestling turn-offs?
Well, I will first say I can remember an exact turn-off I had for wrestling was actually two. I'd take that back. 2 moments. One, Gabe being fired by Ring of Honor. Just never felt like Ring of Honor was the same thing. We grew up on Gabe ROH. Gabe Sapolsky ended up creating great wrestlers who then went on to do great things in WWE. So I Have Talent, elite. And another one was Hell in a Cell being stopped by ref stoppage of Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt, or The Fiend. Never understood how the ref is going to stop that match, but in our childhood, the ref wasn't going to stop a dude going through the cage and off the cage. it just made no sense to me. But those are two events that were turn off. And then a turn off for wrestling, especially right now, is just, I hate to say it, is other fans who want to be one side or the other and won't allow other people to enjoy what they enjoy. It makes no sense to me. If I like something and you don't, so be it. You can watch it for one reason. I can watch it for another. What does me watching it have anything to do with your entertainment and your fun? It doesn't. It doesn't. I've never gone to a wrestling event and been like, oh, that guy didn't like that guy, so now I can't cheer for that guy. That's not how this works.
No. Well, there's a couple of good points in there. The creative of stopping a Hell in a Cell match for any other reason than pinfall, submission, or death. Death is a little extreme. I'm being facetious there, but the real point is that yes, they they should have come up with a more creative way to beat the Fiend, or just let him win. I don't know where he was health wise, or if he couldn't go as long, or whatever. But so I could see that. Wrestling fans, as much as this podcast is about wrestling fans can be the most divisive people that there are. And I mentioned this in an earlier podcast with Kevin, that younger me that would hang out with Adam and Josh and John or Ray or anybody, Brandon, all of us that did backyard wrestling, it was very much so. Even though we all liked wrestling, we judged everyone else for who they liked as a wrestler. Like, like John Cena, we couldn't like John Cena. Going back, we were very jaded, and that was wrong, because the man's a workhorse, and he sold more merch than anybody, had great matches, whatever. He's goated. I'm fine with that. But me and Adam, if you came across other wrestling fans, our first instinct, and I don't want to speak for him because I don't know, but in my eyes, our first instinct is you find out who their favorite wrestler is, depending on who that man, woman, or whatever is, you determine how much you're going to talk about wrestling with them. Because it's like, what are they like who? Your favorite wrestler is the Boogeyman? Oh, yeah, man, wrestling's cool. See you later. Like, because we were judgmental and uppity and
We were young and dumb.
marky. Exactly. But yes, wrestling fans, and as big as the wrestling community is on TikTok and social media, it is a wasteland out there. Everyone thinks you're dumb. Everyone thinks they could book AEW, WWE, Impact, Joe Blow Wrestling Federation down the street better than the people that are doing it, and not one of them spend a dime to try and do it. So, but yeah, so those are all good points. I share in a lot of those. Like I said, I would say tropes, be it that I'm a jaded, lifelong wrestling fan. You see you see it tracking. Oh, they're going to reuse this. Oh, that's the same storyline as so and so. Here we go. Oh, so the repetitiveness, the lack of stepping out of their comfort zone sometimes can get you. And then if they step too far out and then they stop a Hell in a Cell for ref stoppage, Josh gets mad and doesn't want to fucking watch it anymore. But no, okay. I think we pretty much cleared up our likes and dislikes, our memories and our turnoffs, our ebbs and flows. I guess I'd like to point out that as much as I'm a huge wrestling fan and always have been, and I've watched from the 90s on, you never think about the young and up and comers, the next generation, the people that further along the business. And like, we saw the debut of Edge, we saw the debut of Christian, and look at where they're at right now. We saw the debut of John Cena, Kurt Angle, all these things, and you're like, at the time you're just like, this guy's debuting, but you never think that they're going to be the main event. Like, we literally saw the debut of Tyler Black, Seth Rollins, and ROH. We saw John Moxley when he wrestled for NWF here in Cincinnati, and Josh said he was going to be a huge star, and I said Josh was fucking silly. Don't I have egg on my face? But you never think you're seeing the next incarnation of the business. So is there anybody out there right now that's young and hungry, and it doesn't even have to be young, just young in their career, and that you guys think might make waves? Anybody? Josh, hit it.
Well, actually, I was going to be generous and let you go first, since we've been working our way around. So I figured you go ahead and name a few guys first.
I'll name a few. MJF, off the top of my head, is the future of the business, all in all. He's a face. He's a heel. He's not afraid to get some heat. He gets everything over. He takes his time. He can go in the ring or he can be silly. He can cut promos. He does good stories. Him versus Punk was next level. We have who else? Solo Sikoa. Solo?
Mhm.
That his name?
Solo, yeah.
Solo? Sounded weird when I said it. Anyway, he might be something. Gunther. Gunther, I think, is worth his weight in gold. And I think Seth Rollins still, I mean, he's already top thing, but I think he's got some longevity in him.
Do you, though, with his back?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I think if he took time off and had his back, let it actually heal. They don't get paid the same way they used to. It's not like you guys have to wrestle hurt.
Mhm.
That and Seth he needs a change anyway. So I think if he took some time off, let his back heal, I think he's got some longevity left in him. He's been going hard for 15 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, who else?
Have you got anybody off the top of your head? I know you kind of fell off of it, but I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. You know, I think with me being like that boxed fan that Steve described, I probably don't have a lot of insight, but if I had to pick a couple, it was Solo Sikoa was one for mine as well. I love the the bloodline storyline that they're trying to do, and I think he'll be the next, so to speak, leader of that group or head of the table. But I would also say Gunther as well. I think, man, he's just nothing but he's pure intensity, and he still has such a long way to go. But those also, like I said, those are the only examples I can think of. I don't have the insight like you two gentlemen do. So, Josh, what about you? I'm sure you got some more to add.
Well, I had a list of 10 and 10, so we won't go
Nice.
that deep.
Okay.
But AEW wise, I'll stay away from obviously the pillars, the four, because it's clear that AEW wants them to be the face of their company, whether it's MJF, Jack Perry, Darby Allin, or Sammy Guevara. So for over that way, some guys that I think have a good future. One is Hook. That's Taz's son, Kevin, as I think I've told you before on a podcast. A lot of potential there. He's got a look that all the women are going to love, and he wrestles very similar to his dad. So I'm a big fan of that kind of style.
Yeah.
Another one is Ricky Starks. And now, mind you, those two I just named, I do think are almost better WWE-wise and should potentially make the jump over to WWE, which I'll be interested to hear Steve's thoughts on. But yeah, Ricky Starks, actually really good friends with Cody Rhodes. So, and then a surprise one that he's in his mid-30s, but I think Roosh has potential to be an absolute main eventer and big box draw kind of for AEW if they would push him that way. I know they're trying to regroup him and everything down there now with his group, but we'll see where that goes. As for WWE, we can just start in NXT, Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, and then Lexis King. I think all three studs, absolute studs, going to be good for the future. I know a lot of people didn't like the whole Lexis King name, but clearly Brian Pillman Jr. had a say in that because he had the first name as a tribute to his sister. So we can move on from that. And then one that may surprise is Grayson Waller. I think he's actually kind of up in age a little bit, more than you would expect, but I think his promo work is fantastic. Like, he plays his character so well, like automatic heat. And then speaking of heat, Logan Paul is, I mean, people can hate on him all they want, but he's had 8-10 matches, basically saved Rey Mysterio's career in his last match. That kid has it. He's a douche, but he has it.
Oh, speaking of douches, Dominic Mysterio, dude.
Oh, how did
Where
we
did he
forget
come
Dominic?
from?
Yeah. You
Not a
don't think
fan.
so? No.
Not a fan. Yeah.
I think
Dude,
similar.
he's good in the ring. He ain't afraid of some heat. Yeah, he's gonna go places.
He's got some
I don't know if
comedic
he'll be
relief.
as big as his dad, star wise, but he's got some meat on the bone there. He's fine. He's doing good.
Yeah, I
Doing
mean,
good.
one thing WWE does well, honestly, is find those generational stars.
Mhm.
And I mean, they grow up in the business and they just make it work. Like, I think Braun Breaker is immense talent. And I would love to see him get a mouthpiece because I'm not a big fan of the promo, but we'll see. It'll grow on him. I mean, man was playing college football 3 years ago, and now he's in a pro wrestling ring.
Right.
I'm glad to hear some female wrestlers in your list. That's actually that's good. I think it shows the direction that WWE's been going as of late. So I think we can contribute that to Triple H, in my opinion. That's all I wanted to add to it.
What female wrestler?
Carmella, you said Carmilla and also someone else.
Carmelo Hayes.
Carmella Hayes, and then
yeah, that's a dude.
Oh, oops. Okay.
That's a man.
I'm not editing that out. What was the one where you said?
Yeah.
There was no girls.
You said. The other one's the other one's a male too. Oh, the one that Brian Pillman Jr. said. You said was.
King.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Stacy. Okay.
Franklin Jr.
Huh? I thought you said Stacy in there.
Go back in your little world, Kevin. It's okay.
Hold on. Who's Franklin Jr.?
No, not Franklin. I said, didn't you say Brian Pillman Jr. named somebody after his sister?
Himself, yeah, Lexus.
Lexus. Oh, okay. Oh, I thought that was a girl. I better not keep this in because then we're going to have backlash on misgendering. And yeah, we're in that days.
Okay. Misgendering a man?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't you cut that.
Anyway.
Leave that in, too.
Yeah. But
anyway, let's get back on track, please.
Yeah, no.
All right, back on track. Yeah. Yes. So now that we're naming these up and coming stars, I can't help but to wonder about another once up and comer that made a huge mark on the business. The disruptor, the exception to the rule, straight edge superstar CM Punk. With his return being all the talk in pro wrestling, him starting to drop cryptic messages, him being his old promos being, re-upped and paid homage to. What you feel? You feel like he's coming to WWE? You feel like he's going to TNA? Are you excited? Do you care? Do you not care? Who do you name 3 guys you want to see him work with, or more? Go ahead. Let's start with Kevin, since he loves returns. What do you got?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't need to do a top 5 return list because Kevin's already named half his list.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's on number 11.
Right. I'm so hyped for it, and I think we also are going to see Randy Orton come back. So I don't know if they're going to do both at the same time or what the plan is. And there's just so much creativity. I think they have options for. Yeah, he's 100% coming back. And that's what's interesting with WWE is that you definitely can see the homages that are being paid. I think one that I remember most recently, and there's probably been other ones, was Solo Sikoa. If you know how he wraps his hand for his spike, they had zoomed up on that, wrapped up, where it's indicative to what CM Punk did, where he had his X's on there. And I thought when the screen started, I was like, oh man, what is going on here? And then they zoom out. But we've seen the Go to Sleep by Nakamura. Yep. And then there's other ones. So I think that's really cool that they're trying to. You can either call it paying a homage to, or you could, subtly trying to put it in our minds that there's a CM Punk coming on the horizon. As far as who would be a great feud for, I think we discussed privately, Steve, and I think you brought the idea of him and Seth freaking Rollins, and the idea that he probably will come back as a heel, and I think that'd be incredible. I think he should cut the line for going straight to a championship title match. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be great. I prefer face returns over heel returns because I'm a typical Mark fan, but it just doesn't work for CM Punk. He should be a heel. Either way, fans will be excited. So yeah, I think it'll be great.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is 100% coming back. I think that he is coming to WWE. I don't think that he should be I don't think that they'll get him to be a heel that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that CM Punk hits, he's going to have to be a face. I think that they do CM Punk versus Rollins. It won't be Rollins first.
Right
It'll
away.
be probably Nakamura.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. And then the him versus Rollins could be face, tweener face. Because Punk can talk shit that it can drum up some heat, and Seth Rollins is fine in either setting. So, but yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I know that I look forward to seeing him wrestle a lot of guys. Him versus Roman will be cool.
Yeah.
Him versus Cody. So I think working with some of the younger guys would help. Him versus Dominic. Him versus Logan Paul would be cool. Josh, Mr. CM Punk Mark.
That I am.
I
definitely think he's coming back. Now, I've heard a rumor, and I don't believe it, but it's just one I want to bring up. That would be amazing. Kevin, I know you don't watch and see if you follow online-ish, but have you seen this devil character being played on AEW? Basically attacking all of MJF's guys.
Yeah.
What if the devil was Punk? Because now AEW is starting to play different things where they're starting to bring up like the idea that it could be Punk. I don't think it is. I think it's Adam Cole, even if that's too obvious. But
right.
But as for him probably going back to WWE and doing it in Chicago, which Kevin, you definitely cannot make him a heel in Chicago. It doesn't matter what you do with that guy. He is a face in Chicago. I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
The three guys I want, as you mentioned, Seth Rollins has to be one of the guys I want to see him in the ring. 2 is Cody, because I want to see him work with an elite member and kind of make it a stab at that. And Lord knows Punk with a mic, what he could say. And then the oddball,
all those other guys.
And then the oddball / one that would be like just for me being me. I would love to see him work against Tommaso Ciampa. No specific why. I just always been a Ciampa fan, and I think it would be a good mesh of characters and match type.
Yeah, that'll be a brutal match. And so Nakamura, I think, would be a great match too, as long as he doesn't squash Nakamura, and that would be so aggravating because if he inevitably does match against Seth Rollins, it just wouldn't make sense to me. Especially with their most recent match between Nakamura and Seth Rollins. So, but yeah, I agree because he will return in Chicago. It wouldn't make sense elsewise, and he definitely would probably play as a babyface just to draw over the crowd. So yeah, we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah,
or like you said, I mean that's what AEW needs though. If that's the case and he shocks the world and he's the devil, that would be incredibly interesting.
I'd lose my mind.
Yeah, that's what that.
I mean, it would have everyone fooled.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that would be probably the biggest surprise in recent wrestling history.
Would you prefer that?
Yes.
Would you prefer that, Josh?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Just because you don't like WWE, or because they're more potential, or what?
I don't. First off, we've gone over this. It's not that I don't like WWE. All right, it's not that at all. It's just I prefer AEW. It's just the way it is. I mean, like I said, you asked me to name my top 5 like wrestlers now. 4 of them are over in AEW, and you asked me to name top 5 all time. 2 or 3 of them are over in AEW. It's just what I prefer.
That's okay. Yeah, and by all means, prefer it. I have no qualms about that. Really, yeah. I like AEW. I like WWE. I like all wrestling.
Yeah. Either way, I just want Punk back on my TV again. I really enjoy Punk, and I don't want what happened to be the end of it.
I don't think that. I think Punk would be better suited in WWE because he doesn't have the stress and the weight of the company on him. He doesn't. He shows up. He gets a paycheck. He gets a little bit of freedom because Triple H is letting everybody get a little freedom. That's why it's getting good again.
Mm-hmm.
And there's none of these squabbles backstage. Nobody. Seth Rollins is not acting like a fuckhead and getting bitten and tackled in the locker. It's not happening. It just doesn't happen in WWE. There's enough chiefs around to keep the Indians in line, if that makes sense. So I think that's what Punk needs, because I think when he tries to be the guy, he doesn't have his I don't know if it's his ego or his mentality is, I have to do extra, I have to be more, and I should have the respect of all the elders. And I don't think Chris Jericho even has that. I don't think Chris Jericho is seen as like a locker room leader, quote unquote.
He has been at AEW, man.
But AEW doesn't feel that. Like this, and like I said, I'm not in the locker room. I don't know, but like WWE, they still have shit go on. There's still whatever. There's these backstage qualms. There's people that don't like each other. There's whatever, but it's definitely a more professional, more polished product. It's more mature. And go ahead.
See, this is where this I was waiting for this one to be brought up, so I'll go ahead and roll with it a little bit. You also got to think there has been these kind of situations in WWE. Like this isn't new to wrestling. Like backstage heat and backstage issues happen. Like it's just like work environments happen. Especially you hang out with these people enough, groups get together, so on and so forth. It's just to say it was only in AEW is just
I know. I said there were skirmishes back. Fuck Batista and Eddie got into it. Batista and Booker, Eddie and Kurt Angle and Vince McMahon and all this stuff. But it's never in a public forum. CM Punk would not go to WWE and say some goofy shit like he did at the media scrum and have all the attention drawn from the product to Punk, and he wouldn't go, and him and Triple H aren't going to get into a pinch fight and kick his dog. That's not going to happen in WWE ever.
You had the owner of the company. Now, mind you, it might have been a work, still debatable, but you had the owner of the company screw over a man with the title in his own town and then proceed to have a brawl basically break out in the back. So to say it never happens, that's wrong.
That's not, well, first off, that they're two different companies at this point. That was WWF. You're talking about Vince McMahon letting Bret Hart punch him. And, and then he turns it into the biggest story ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
That they still talk about and made money off of it.
Yes.
And then Bret Hart went and made $1 million a year or $3 million a year for the next 3 years. And Shawn Michaels became the biggest heel in the company, and Stone Cold became what he was, and everyone made money, and it's not the same. Whereas in AEW, they didn't take advantage of it. Tony Khan said that he was scared for his life, and CM Punk is now out money. So they're apples and oranges. I mean, like I said, I'm not saying that there hasn't been these things and that Vince is a stand-up and WWE's but right now, today, there's no CM Punk couldn't act the way he acted. If him and whoever got into something backstage, we'd hear about it, but it would not be addressed on TV. And if it were, it'd be in a work to get the audience drummed up. It would be in the ring. It wouldn't be at a media scrum. And it would be nipped in the bud. It would be taken care of by adults, not by 6 people who want to review it for 3 months and then never come to terms or talk about it. They dropped one of the biggest. Could you imagine if Punk and they got Kenny Omega and Punk in a ring or in a room and they're like, look, you guys don't like each other. Who cares? Let's make some fucking money. Protect each other in the ring and then don't talk when you go backstage. Nothing else needs to be said. But so you either got to be a businessman or you got to be a money mark. And you have to, you have to decide. And like I said, WWE, it's not about whether or not fights would happen, because it'll happen. Punk's not going to like people. Punk didn't have very many fans backstage when he was there the first time. So I just don't think that it would have been handled the way it was in a WWE atmosphere.
That's fair.
Right. But that actually is a fairly decent segue into my next little question here. And it was, be it that we've discussed Punk and now we've touched on AEW a little bit, I was going to say we should definitely talk about the wrestling company that mended Punk's relationship with the wrestling world and brought him back, the alternative to WWE. I guess it's still the alternative at this point. The recent slump in attendance, the slowing of the ratings. Is it business as usual? Is it growing pains? Is it ebbs and flows? They're still getting more TV shows, more TV time on TNT, TBS. So it's not like they're being canceled. Tony Khan has billions of dollars. It's not like they're out of money. What's the problem, Josh? What's going on here?
I'll be honest with you. There's another person who would probably be better to ask this question to than me. And I actually tried to ask him, and he ignored my question. So I'll leave that at that. But for me, I don't know if it's basically the company became a divided fan base, if that plays a role in it, that with the whole bringing Punk in, it became, you had Punk fans and you had the elite fans, and they never could meet in the middle. I've brought up that to you, Steve, many times, that like part of the issue that I've had going back to AEW now since Punk left was it was one of those things where now the elite fans got to say they were right. And I guess they were. I mean, the chaos caused drama, and Punk looked like an asshole. As for attendance, I know ticket prices have skyrocketed, inflation, so on and so forth. I still don't know if that's Tony Khan doing it or if it's Ticketmaster doing it or how it is. But I feel like that could play a role in it. Also, running the same city that WWE runs within a month or two, probably not the wisest idea. Case in point, again, inflation. If I'm a wrestling fan, but I prefer WWE over AEW, and I only can spend so much money on one thing, I'm going to go one way or another. Those, I guess, would be my big points. And then it's funny you mentioned the alternative, so I take that back. The alternative, it doesn't feel like an alternative to me anymore. You said it before. Arguably, the biggest storyline right now is Christian and Edge. I mean, yeah, I've wanted to see this. Don't get me wrong. Sorry, Christian and Adam Copeland. I've wanted to see it, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel like an alternative to me. It's honestly became more WCW, which, ironically enough, that's what Tony Khan idolized and grew up. He was always a WCW fan.
Right. Well, Kevin, I know you don't watch, but is there a reason you haven't watched AEW? What's not the draw for you? Being the the outsider, being the guy that they should be trying to get. The wrestling fan that's not watching, the wrestling fan that might see stuff on TikTok or YouTube and think, oh, that's cool. Or you're going to go and watch MJF's top 10 moves on YouTube or whatever. Sure. Why won't you tune into AEW? What's your take?
No, that is a really good question. And I think wrestling is hard. I think it's hard to market because I think they're doing the best that they can, and the best that you can is to use wrestlers that I know of, aka the names that you guys mentioned is Adam Copeland, Chris Jericho, whoever else that I always liked. So by taking them, I mean there should be, in theory, some of the market that you're taking that's from WWE, those fans, into introducing to something new and fresh. But to be honest, I don't know. I really don't know why it ever caught on. Maybe if some bigger names, even than them, which is hard because all of those guys have great history. But the caveat to that is that they're definitely at the tail end of their careers. In opinion of mine, I know most recently they just signed Ric Flair, which I think we're going to start seeing him in a walker in his entrances here soon because, I mean, that guy's just old. There's nothing outside of that. I mean, there's not much left in him, but I still definitely respect it because he's still got a great name to him and he's still great. He's still awesome, charisma wise, but, so, whatever his role might be as a manager, whatever it is, but, gosh, outside of that, I don't know. I really can't give you an answer. It's just hard to market. There's you can show clips of what wrestlers are doing, but you can't really give me 10, 15 seconds of storylines that are going on. And you can tell me, here's this guy versus this guy, but I don't know who those people are. So, I just don't have the energy to jump from one brand to another. But the issue with that is that I could just be too much of a box fan, and there are definitely fans out there that might be something similar that could easily jump over. So I think that's a really fantastic question, probably worth $1 million to figure out for AEW or any organization for the matter. It's
I was
just
also
hard
going to, Kevin, not to cut you off, but
Yeah.
you were speaking of like the attention and stuff like that. Could also a situation be, and it's become one for me, especially school, work, social life, especially being football season. Is there an issue of this is Monday night, this is Tuesday night, that's Wednesday night, that's Thursday night, that's Friday, that's like, I don't know about
100%.
y'all, but I don't have the time or the even I'll say the mental ability to watch 20 hours of wrestling during the week.
Yeah.
Like there's so many other things I want to do. And I also just things you have to do. You have to work. You got to take care of your family, Steve. You got to do things like that. Could there honestly be too much going on that it's just you prefer, since you're a WWE fan, you prefer Raw, SmackDown over AEW?
Oh man, I mean that's
hold on. I just want to interject. I'm not unemployed.
I didn't say you're unemployed.
No, I know, but you're like work, whatever, and take care of your family, Steve.
He's like, I got to give him something.
He didn't like that. I'm just saying.
No, I know.
Me and Kevin don't have kids to take care of.
No, actually, I do. I do have a couple kids. So yeah.
Kevin has 3 kids, dude.
I did not know this.
3. Yeah.
Holy friendship! Yeah. Holy long I've been in a hole.
Yeah.
Just ignore me from now on.
But no,
Kevin doesn't have to take care of his kids.
Right? They have kids. I just don't take care of them. Right.
Man, you're just insulting everybody today, guys.
Yes, he can't win.
I quit. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah. No, that is
so fun.
No, but that is so important that we make a point of, and I'm glad you said that, Josh, because it literally is every day, and that shouldn't be anybody to say, okay, well then I guess you're not a diehard fan, because that can't be further from the truth. We all do have lives, and it's almost becomes white noise. I mean, it's at Monday through Friday, you have different promotions, different brands, Raw, East, I don't know where, Raw, SmackDown, whatever. Plus, then you have AEW, Impact, NXT. It's just so much. That I also agree that you're mentally can only take so much. Whether you absolutely love wrestling, it's just a hobby, or it's just something to put on when you can't find something else on. And then on top of that, right now we're in football season. I like football, and then baseball season will be coming up in a few months. I like it's a lot. And the other thing on top of that, I don't even know why I didn't mention, is that TV packages. I mean, now you've got for WWE at the moment, what you need USA Network because you can't stream Raw anywhere else. SmackDown is on, what is it, Fox? I don't even know. I watch it. I can't even remember what it's.
Fox.
Fox
For a little bit longer, yep.
Yeah, and then that's going to transit. That's going to be USA Network soon too, right? So that'll help. But I don't have it. I don't have USA Network. And then you have, what'd you say? TNT, is that on? Or
TNT, TBS, so Turner.
Okay, so Turner. So that's another big deal. Is that, and you can't really easily stream it. I mean, not cheap at least. So I think that's another huge thing. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. Is that I don't have these networks to even watch to begin with. I have cheap packages because we don't watch TV too often. So I think that's another huge contributing factor, is just having access to the bloody thing. And that's in and of itself a whole nother conversation. So those are excellent points. That's a great topic of discussion. But yeah, I guess, have you chime in, Steve? I don't know if I can't remember if we give you an opportunity.
Because I ruined everybody's life.
Right? We're still recovering.
Man,
from the
you
burns.
did. You're like Steve's unemployed and Kevin has no family. Kevin's an orphan. And Steven's a piece of shit. No, I'm just kidding. Steven's a stay-at-home dad, not by choice.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's all fun and games. It's all fun and games.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I think the AEW, I bought their first pay-per-view, All In was the first one, and I've bought Revolution a couple times, and I've bought they've drew me in a few times. I just don't feel like it's an alternative when everyone that means anything to that company is a former WWF champion. WWE champion. Every one of them. Outside of MJF. He was in NXT for a while. So when you rely on Bryan Danielson, no shame there. Bryan Danielson's champion. He's great. He's great in the ring. He's good on the mic. He draws people in. He's got a fan base. Adam Copeland. He's edge to everyone else. Fan base, champion, worker. Probably, I think they expected him to pop a big draw or, draw a big rating and pop a big rating. It happened. I think Christian is shoulders above Edge in most aspects of the business. Truly. You have Ric Flair, who was a WWE guy for 9 years. You have Sting, who was in WWE before AEW was created. You have just all these key players. Samoa Joe was in there. Like, more people watch WWE. So when you see a WWE guy, you're like, oh, that's a WWE guy. Back to the Ricky Starks thing. I don't know much about him. I know that he's good in the ring. I know that they say he cuts a hell of a promo. I don't know that he would be big in WWE. I don't know that he would make a splash. I feel like he would kind of just linger in the upper mid card most of his WWE run if he does go there. I will say that the cost of Dish or whatever does play a factor. I don't have Dish or any type of. I do all streaming services, or I watch a lot of my wrestling on TikTok or YouTube, and so that has to play a factor. But AEW just doesn't draw me because, first off, they use a Texas Death Match every second week. Every other week, there's a fucking Texas Death Match. Josh, am I lying?
Cannot confirm or deny.
Do I have to?
Gosh, he pleads the fifth.
I am pleading the damn fifth.
There's just, I feel like they just do a lot of things that I'm like, man, there's just not enough people there to draw me in. But that's me as a wrestling fan. That's not everybody. I just don't feel like AEW has what it takes to get what it needs to be. I'm glad people have jobs. I don't want the company to go under. I don't want anyone to lose a job. I hope Tony Khan keeps those guys working and pays them well for eternity. I don't think it's ever going to be a WWE type product. I don't think it's going to take the world by storm or anything. And that's just my opinion.
It's going to
Any closing thoughts on AEW?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just it's not AEW, it's not Impact. It's just simply the fact that WWF turned WWE just was ahead of the game, and it's would be incredibly hard to catch up for anybody. It would take a huge amount of money. It would take a huge amount of marketing. You would have to find the talent before WWE can, and it's just so much resources that would be needed. Like it's almost. I think there is a point why we're saying that these promotions aren't necessarily alternatives. I think it'd just be so hard to really compete, and the closest that ever came was WCW. And ever since then, there's just been too much separation. It can't happen. WWE would have to fail, I think, on their own for another company to be able to do it. But again, that's a boxed fan that has limited perspective. So
I will say one thing though, younger talent wise, and I know Steve may disagree, but younger talent wise, AEW does have the better talent.
Do they? Okay. Oh,
That's arguable for sure.
arguable.
I can't deny that. I feel like NXT gets a lot of the problem with AEW is that they have a little bit more freedom, so you see these talents
right away
blossom a little sooner.
Yeah.
Whereas NXT is very much so training them to be WWE superstars. If that makes sense, they're not becoming wrestlers per se.
Mm-hmm.
And a good indie run's killer. A lot of guys that are like, look at everyone that's top right now had killer indie runs and then became WWE guys. Even then became AEW guys besides MJF, but he's the standout. He's the next big thing, not Brock Lesnar. But anyway, so I feel like we've kind of touched base on that enough, and we can always bounce back to it, and we can always talk about it more or less when things happen or come up. And so I would like to sort of wrap this thing up, and I wanted to kind of talk about something that anyone who's ever been a wrestling fan has partaken in and done, and that will be backyard wrestling. We are three guys who wrestled on nasty old mattresses in people's backyards and loved every second of it and devoted time and money and effort and in Kevin's case blood to
just the most minimal amount because I didn't know what I was doing.
And so what are some of your guys' fondest memories about New Blood Wrestling Alliance Cincinnati?
Kev, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go for. I thoroughly enjoyed, and this was part of your introduction for tonight's podcast, was the People's Obesity character. I had so much fun with that. Josh, I even remember taking it so far that in school, I do remember. This literally just clicked. I think we were walking in the hallway, and I was just being that character. I don't remember what I said, but I remember just having that. So the whole idea of this People Obesity was like 180 degree from, well, basically a heel version of The Rock, who is the people's champion, whatever. So I wanted to twist that as the People's Obesity. I'm overweight, and obviously that maybe works for backyard wrestling, but it was just kind of a chaotic, like, what are you doing? And I loved it. I loved the and that character was just way too much, and just a good heel, or tried to be. I took it to school just briefly. I was just being a goon. But like my move sets, it's just funny when I think about it. One of them was the People's Splash or People's Obesity Splash. So we know that The Rock does the People's Elbow, bounces between ropes, but we didn't have ropes.
You just had to run so hard, turn around.
Exactly. Run to one edge of our mattress, go back to the other. It made no sense. Has no addition to the move of its impact, and I do a fat splash on somebody. I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it. And I think when you have fun with it, you really build your charisma with it. And maybe that's why they gave me that standing ovation or super show. But so it's a general memory of mine. Yeah, that's I loved it. Love that. I love doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's mine. That's mine.
Where was real quick? Where was your favorite? Where was your favorite venue? Was it at Coton's house? Was it Josh's backyard? Was it
I like Josh's back.
Brandon's?
Well, there's so many good ones because there's
Donnie's?
Donnie's was a good. For some reason, Donnie's setup was the best, and maybe because there's woods on the side, and I don't know, but like I like Josh's only because at the time at Josh's, I was a manager, or whatever I was, COO. We did me a new title every other day, I guess I like the storylines then. Coden's actually okay. No, maybe Coden's was the best. We had super shows there too, but I feel like I don't know what the setup was kind of nice because we would come out of the woods as part of our entrance. Oh my gosh! Well, I don't want to steal your thunder, but there was another particular memory that I loved. Was I don't know whose entrance it was, but you guys had the sparklers. Do you remember that on either side?
Yeah.
You're just like,
You were supposed to be Goldberg.
Was it for me? Was it for me or someone else?
Yeah.
Oh, it was for me. That's
Yeah.
yeah. That was another thing. I mocked entrances. I did Triple H, Goldberg. Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like really every venue that we were at, the ones that you had mentioned, there's so many fun memories between each one of them. Some of them had super shows. Some of the layouts were great. I don't know. Yeah, we had some good spots in each area. So I don't think I can pick a favorite, to be honest.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Calloway, fill us in.
So I'll give three that popped right in my mind once you brought this up. One, like I said, I mentioned before, but it was the time you snapped that kid's ankle and literally flipped out and just go, oh!
You freaked out. Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
I don't know what I'm doing. Hey, I'm not trained for this.
Newsflash, it's all supposed to be a work.
Yeah, well, you snapped that thing, and luckily it snapped back in place. So that's one. Two is getting literally kicked out of my backyard, and why we had to move it from my house was because my neighbors were so religious that they were like, "Oh, wrestling's bad for my family," blah blah blah. So that's why. Yeah, it was the neighbors starting to call the cops, and my mom was like, I don't want to cause drama because we just moved into the house.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, but I mean, I love our backyard spot, and I love Donnie's also because the posts were set up like, man, looking back at it, like if we could be a teenagers now doing that stuff, we'd be doing it so much better. Even with technology, like being able to do this while watching our stuff, it would have been so much easier.
Yeah,
and then three for the memory was probably the really, really, really drunken night when we came up with the idea of the glass ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
And we cut those amazing promos, but we didn't save them.
Yeah. Well, that's because in some of them we were shooting for the fucking stars, dude. We said some off the wall shit.
Yeah.
Making fun of it. Oh, my God. Do you guys remember? This is so... Everything's starting to flash. I have so many memories. Real quick, your favorite spot was your house then? Is that what you're saying? Or Donnie's?
I think Donnie's actually, and which real quick popped in another memory, the worst frog splash in the history of frog splashes. Do you remember that?
Off the ladder?
Off the ladder.
Did the ladder buckle or whatever? Or kick out from under?
No, his foot slipped.
Oh, bummer.
Worst in it. Oh, my God. But
to make up for it, Josh, you did, and your backyard, you did jump off of your balcony, which was at least 15, maybe 10 feet high, and gave me a clothesline. And looking back on it, I was way too far back. I should have been a lot closer, and you hit it. So I think I
don't remember that.
That's probably the reason why you don't.
And then one more. The scar still there.
Oh wow,
still there from when me and Brandon did the air raid on the back of my car.
Oh, you went through the window.
Windshield.
Yeah. That was awesome. That was like the craziest thing.
I nearly died.
Dude, if you go back and watch that, there's a point. I don't know if I have the video anymore. I think we recorded over it on my VHS we were recording, but I yell no like someone's going to die. I'm like, no.
I
I'm like,
remember
"Ah."
that. You were trying to talk us out of it. Like literally
The
the
spot.
entire time.
Well-
And we should have listened to you, but we didn't.
Well, here's the thing. We talked about it, and I'm like, and you guys are like, we're going to do it on the trunk. And I said, no, do it on the fucking hood, where you have 5 feet. You guys decided to go on a Corolla fucking, it's as big as my shit.
Oh, young and dumb.
Was your parents
Air raid
pissed?
siren. I'm like,
Oh no, they were just like, you're stupid.
That's
And then,
awesome. I love it.
I had to pay to replace it.
Yeah.
so.
That's good.
Didn't Brandon help too?
Yeah, Brandon did.
Good. You're just
Brandon
you're
was a good
stupid.
dude.
Yeah.
A couple of things. I have go back and watch all the old wrestling. I have like 6 VHSs full of our old wrestling.
Hmm.
I have a video where Kevin knees some kid to death.
Yes.
Remember Huggy?
Yes. I forgot about that kid.
Oh my god, he
Your
knocked
dad
that
loves
guy
that.
out cold. Oh, me and my dad would rewind it and watch it. The noises make when you were trying to do that stupid fucking kid. And then, do you guys remember how we introduced Huggy to you guys?
No. I don't know who it came from.
You don't remember this?
No.
Wait, wasn't he the mute?
He was deaf.
Oh,
Death. Oh no. Why did we do that?
So, here's what happened. I drove separate to Donnie's house,
Mhm.
and it was the first time Huggy was there. And I'm waiting, and Josh and everybody starts to show up. Well, me and Donnie are talking, and he's like, "This is Huggy, whatever, blah blah blah." We do all the hardcore stuff. We're gonna have a last man standing match tonight. It's gonna be awesome, blah blah blah. Whatever, it's cool. So I'm like, out of nowhere, I think, let's convince everyone this kid's deaf. I said, he's deaf.
Why don't I
Talk to him in sign language. No one here knows sign language. They're going to think it's fine. He'll talk back. And then every time he turns around, you say something off the fucking wall about this kid. So he would,
That's so shitty.
he would mouth it and say it. And Huggy would turn around and he'd be like, you deaf piece of shit. Everybody's like, right? So, and Kevin was so concerned. He was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. This is awful. Well, in the middle of the match, they're wrestling, and Donnie is beating this kid, and he's going, yeah, it's like, yeah, come on, you deaf asshole.
Oh my god.
Yeah, get up. What, you can't hear me? Well, you can't hear me? And that Huggy turns around, and he goes, I'm not deaf, asshole. And everyone, I got everyone. Kevin was so mad, he was punching me. Me, dude.
I really don't remember that, but that's exactly my reaction. would have been.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So once you said his name and the whole death thing, instantly triggered the memory.
I'm so mad I don't remember that. Oh man, that actually is pretty good.
That was at Colton's house,
Yes,
right?
I remember Huggy at Colton's. Yeah, in his backyard.
No, this was at Donnie's.
It wasn't at Colton's. Are you sure? Or did we? Maybe we transitioned
No,
to
no,
Colton's.
because
It was at Colton's.
I remember-
Because Colton was coming out of the woods. I promise.
Yeah, I remember the woods.
he may have showed up there the
Both?
first time. I thought it was at Donnie's, but yeah, I know he was at Donnie's a lot, and he was at Josh's,
Mhm.
or at Brandon's at the
Brandon.
end there. But that always cracked me up. That nearly killed me. I'm not kidding.
Well, you're such a
I laughed
prick.
so hard.
You're such a prick.
And yeah, I loved it. That's the same kid you knocked out.
Yeah, I know. I remember that.
You-
I remember.
I don't remember the name.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What is the?
If-
What was
when
even
we
the?
do a live one, we're gonna watch it.
Okay, it is. The
I got
noise
it
is
queued
gross. Yeah, I don't remember what my
Oh.
move was though. Is that where I have him on the shoulders and then I twist him around?
No, that was a cool one. You never hurt anybody with that. But this is where you wrap their arm and you get some sort of like
yeah,
knee.
yeah. I think
It was supposed to be like an enziguri.
yeah. That's exactly what I based it off of.
I mean,
And
it could be worse. Somebody could take one of my lariats again.
Larry,
That
it's a
kid
nasty
thought he
move.
took a lariat.
Yeah.
That kid woke up from being knocked out and thought, fuck, I'm not even in the ring with Eddie.
Poor guy.
Oh my God, dude. And there's a video where you knock me fucking silly with a lariat.
Mm.
It's not your arm's not even close to me. You just punched me in the face.
That's the one I remember that so well. Oh, great.
We weren't very good at this.
No, I think we're great at it, dude, but there's so many good stories.
Yeah.
Oh, there's just
Yeah.
endless amounts of good times. And my favorite place was Donnie's. Maybe Coton's. Coton's was cool. There was a lot of good stuff at Coton's. There was a lot of good stories at Coton's.
Yeah. I think that was
A
our
lot of the
prime.
Man, we
yeah.
just- it's just one of those things, man. I wish we would have been like more reliable, more people
Yeah.
show up. Like,
Yeah.
because I mean, Steve, me and you would spend Friday, Saturday nights booking that stuff, like getting basically yelled at, like, because we would be sitting at home doing that instead of like going out with our girlfriends.
Right.
Yeah.
That's dedication right
And
there.
and like we would do that, and we would also remember we were like the fucking caravan. We would drive around and get everyone, and how many times did we go to Ray's house and knock on his door for a half an hour?
Yep.
You know, you're coming, come on. Hold on, I got a note in here of this shit. Where's it at?
Is this the
Who was
NBWA?
also bad for that? The skinny guy, long hair.
Skinny guy, long hair.
Yeah.
I vaguely
What do you-
remember.
We also always had to pick him up.
Oh, you're talking about Craig.
Craig, yeah.
Mm.
Craig, same thing. Yeah, I'm not coming. And then we'd show up at his house and be like, get in the car, you're going.
Mhm.
Yeah, what was his name?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Nephitis was Chris.
Yeah. Blood Riot was
David.
Brandon. Oh, David. Yeah.
David.
Yeah, Young Gun was Brandon.
Young
Young
Gun was
Gun.
Brandon.
The Heartbreak Gun.
Do you remember that one Jack dude that came too? I don't know whose friend that was. He wanted to give me a spine buster, and I did not. Who is it? Yeah, that's right.
He nearly killed my brother.
Oh, I forgot your brother wrestled too. That's right.
Yeah, he little.
Yeah, he
Dylan.
was. Yeah, he was like
he was
9.
little at the time.
Yeah.
Now he's like 7 foot tall, isn't he?
No, he's like 6'1", 6'2".
He's taller than me.
Taller than me now. Yeah, I would say taller
Taller
than
than
me.
me.
Is he doing sports or anything?
No, he's CEO for. You know what? I'm not going to share that information.
Okay.
Good idea. Good call. Good call.
Got that.
But no, I got on. There's probably oh shit. There was, at one point we probably had 16 or 17, 20 wrestlers. Is that right?
Yeah, all together.
Well, I'm gonna say no. At one point, we definitely were 15 to 20, but it's just not enough people would show up repeatedly.
Consistently. Yeah.
Right. And is this true that Kevin Axel's Success was a 2-time MBWA champion? I have that written down. Are you?
Yes,
2-time?
and you know why? Because one of those times I bought the championship off of somebody.
I remember that.
I had fun with that storyline. I first came, so at the time you had the red Mustang. So it's a promo.
Yes.
It starts. I come out of the car. We didn't even plan this. Someone said, "Oh, nice car," and I come out just being my jackass self, and I was just like, "Thanks, it's not mine." And then I get my wallet out and I talk about or something about, I can't remember what, but like I basically got like $5 out of my wallet and said, "Let me buy that championship." I even and then I edited the videos at the time. So at the bottom, I put like the title change happened, like Kevin Axel, whatever, is the new NBWA champion. I had fun with that.
Yeah. That was killer. And then I got on here. Here we are. 22 active guys at one time.
22. Wow. We could have done it. We could have really got somewhere with that.
Yeah. We had, is this right? 5 super shows, 5 live audience shows total or more?
I want to say 5 total. I was definitely the biggest heel at every single one. And the one though, me and Steve went out there and had a killer match, probably one of our best matches ever. And they just hated us, both of us, and we were just like, "Fuck these guys."
That's a win, in my opinion. It's when they're quiet. That's when it's not good.
That's when you gave me 3 dragon suplexes.
Nice.
Yeah, because also I've never beaten Eddie Calloway ever.
Oh, wow.
Ever, never beaten him. He's the only person.
Wow.
The only
And
person
he's
I
the
ever
only
beat.
person too. Wow.
I buried everybody else. Fuck 'em.
And boy, did we hear that enough.
Oh my god, all the time. What else do I got here? Hold on.
No, that's enough, man. That's enough for this time.
Well, just one more thing. We
All
also did front yard wrestling for anyone who was curious. We wrestled in fucking Brandon's front yard.
That's how it debuted.
God, that was so bad. Ugh.
Front yard. That's hilarious.
Anyway, fellas, I've had a good time on this one. What do we next week, gentlemen? Josh, what do you got planned for us on the next Tuesday triple threat? Recorded on Mondays.
Well, blame my school schedule. You'll have to let me think about that, and I'll shoot everybody a text for that one. I'm not sure where we're gonna go. It'll probably be something WWE wise though.
Okay, we can do that, or we'll just shoot the shit again.
Yeah.
Maybe you come up with a bunch of different questions.
That's a good idea.
Think about it, Josh. Let me know what next Monday's show is going to be, and we'll call it the Tuesday triple. They don't need to know when we fucking record.
Yeah, it's
There's
funny
no
though.
date on this.
Yeah, that's true.
And then if you want to come up with some questions, or if you want to talk about MBWA, or if you want to talk about whatever, let's rock and roll.
Sounds good to me.
All right, ladies, you have a good night. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, thank you. We did good today. Thanks, guys. All right.
See ya.
See ya.
Fellas.
Bye.